Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Joe Imbriano, the Fullerton Informer. And this is an urgent broadcast in a sense because we're in the first week of April 2019. We're in Southern California right now, and it's almost 90 degrees at 3 o'clock in the afternoon in Orange County. All right, folks. We've got a big problem on our hands. I'm in Southern California, Orange County, and what we've got going on, folks, is they've sprayed the living crap out of the skies over Southern California. It was almost 90 degrees today in Southern California, okay? And this is on the heels of literally weeks of moisture that has flooded the majority of the Midwestern portion of the United States. A lot of our food production facilities are underwater. And the sky is full of stratospheric aerosols, all kinds of aluminum up there, all the desiccant powders, all of their electromagnetic chaff that they want to spray to screw up the weather. You know, it's so obvious what's going on. This is how they do it, folks. The forecast for about 200 million people in the United States in the next 6 days calls for massive severe weather. We've got a weather event planned that's going to affect 200 million people in the United States. About 200 million people in the United States in the next 6 days calls for massive severe weather. And I want you to look what they've done to the skies where these storms make landfall. That's right. And it's an attack, folks. And it's an attack on the American people. All right? Look at this garbage. This is Joe Imbriano, the Fullerton Informer. P.O. Box 4121, Fullerton, California, 92834. And it's basically an atmospheric river, for lack of a better term. And this is the kind of stuff we get every so often. When we have El Nino weather conditions, which we have, there's a ton of water, folks. You know, to those of you who don't understand what we live in and what we live on, we live in a closed system, folks. The Earth is a stationary plane with a dome on it, folks, and there's a ton of water in this thing. There's a ton of water under the ground, and there's water above the dome as well. But while we're in this closed system, ladies and gentlemen, it's pretty easy to move the moisture around in the atmosphere. All you've got to do is have the right particulate matter sprayed at high altitudes. You could see the sky, folks. This is not a normal sky, ladies and gentlemen. These are not clouds. This is desiccation of atmospheric moisture. This is manipulation of the atmospheric river. This is weather warfare and weather terrorism being waged against the American people. And have the right electromagnetic weaponry and, scalar weapons and microwave systems and atmospheric heaters and atmospheric ionizers and all kinds of other gadgets that they've used all our tax money and our 180 IQ children to build. What goes up must come down, folks. And all this moisture that's being pushed up and over us is being directed to come down in the last place it should be falling, and that is in the Midwest. They can move that jet stream around like it's a piece of spaghetti, folks, and that's what they're doing. California should be having April showers that bring May flowers right now, and what we have on our hands right now, folks, is a complete dome of high pressure that's being dumped on us and electromagnetically engineered so that all of the moisture, instead of falling out of the sky and dissipating as it moves eastward, it's going to carry all the moisture and dump it all instead of having it spread out over the southwestern California, the desert southwest of the United States. It's going to take its full punch and hook up with the tropical moisture coming up out of the Gulf and that cold air coming down out of the north, and it's going to be a disaster for the Midwest, folks. They're engineering this atmospheric river to dump and destroy the breadbasket of the United States. That's exactly what is going on, ladies and gentlemen. What is happening right now is the United States is being attacked. You know, it's a form of warfare that's being waged, and anybody with eyes to see in California can see. And for those of you who don't care, you know, go back to your bonbons, your bong hits, and your television, and go back to waiting for the rapture and waiting for Jesus to come back and fix everything, while everything goes to hell in a handbasket, okay? And it is being attacked by forces that are operating inside our country and inside our government. This is an unbelievable example of weather terrorism, ladies and gentlemen. All the storms and weather systems make landfall from the Pacific Northwest on the western coast of the United States. They're engineering this atmospheric river to dump and destroy the breadbasket of the United States. Metallic nanocompounds are being sprayed in the skies, ladies and gentlemen. And what is happening is, as these are sprayed in the skies, they are being superheated by electromagnetic forces. And what is happening is these electromagnetic forces that are superheating the atmosphere are affecting the jet stream, folks. And what happens to them once they make landfall here dictates what they do as they continue on their trajectory eastward, okay? We have a situation where the weather is being modified by forces, whether it be the military or the government. They are spraying these metallic nanocompounds in the sky, and they're being superheated to produce a desiccating effect on the atmosphere, ladies and gentlemen. And depending upon how much moisture is dropped here as it passes over the western part of the United States in California, that will determine how much moisture is left over to be dumped on the rest of the country. And so if they don't let any of the rain out of the system until it gets to the Midwest and it hooks up with the Polar Express and the tropical components, then you have epic, massive flooding, folks. This is how they run the drought, okay? This is how they modify the weather. This is how they geoengineer our weather. This is how they induce climate change, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the deal. You know, I don't want you throwing this pious Christianity stuff at me like, oh, you know, we shouldn't get upset and we gotta love everything. No, we don't, folks. We gotta call evil evil, and we gotta try to stop it. This is how they get the weather to go berserk on us, and this is how they justify the draconian Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030 land use legislation, the rewilding of the United States, and all of the draconian land use measures and rezoning of areas and water restrictions and everything else, folks. And of course, at the core of this is control of carbon emissions, ladies and gentlemen. That is what's really going on here, folks. Because people are going to be killed, and the food supply is going to be affected, and the economy is going to be affected, and there's going to be all kinds of suffering. I mean, you think it's okay for kids to get sucked down a storm drain in Tennessee? You think it's okay for all these calves to be drowned in the stables and in the barns? You think it's okay for all these rats to go crazy eating all this grain and all these mosquitoes biting these rats and these fleas and this bubonic plague they're setting up as they push the vaccine laws down everybody's throats? Don't you see the order out of chaos they're setting up?
It is a very dastardly plan designed to get us under their thumb in so many different ways, ladies and gentlemen. They are into many different ways of getting control of us, and one of the ways they get control of us is through the water and the food supplies. Those are easily manipulated by manipulating geographical conditions and living conditions and access to moisture and water and farmland and food production. So if you can throw the weather off and create droughts or floods, you basically got the food supply under wraps, folks.
This is disgusting. You know, they let it rain, and when they let off the spraying and the electromagnetic interference, it rained, and it was normal. And right now, you know, the citrus are blooming, and there's fruit on the stone fruit trees. The bees are out, the butterflies are out. You know, the fungus gnats are by the millions, and there's moths and butterflies. And okay, look, they let it rain for a couple weeks, and everything sprung right back.
And that's what's going on here. And then they can blame it on carbon emissions, and then they can get us out of our cars. And what they can do at that point is they can begin restricting travel, and then they can start locking us into these kill grids.
And they're not kidding when they say there's going to be a big event this week, and this is how they do it, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm telling you, you need to prepare, because for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. When you pump this kind of electromagnetic energy into this closed system, there's a very good possibility this could trigger an earthquake.
We are in a situation right now. This is the first week of April, folks, and look at this sky. This is unbelievable, okay? This is an unbelievable event that's taking place. We've got a weather emergency heading for the Midwest, and look at what they're doing to California. They're literally putting an aluminum dome over the southwestern United States, forcing all of this moisture to go up and over this area.
They don't have control over everything. These guys that run things, they're mad scientists, they're psychotic, they're sociopathic, they're bloodthirsty, they get off on misery and suffering. And they don't have it all down, folks. They're behind on their timeline on a lot of things. They're not getting World War III as fast as they wanted it, and they're not getting their 5G as quickly as they wanted it, and they're not getting these Agenda 21s and these Agenda 2030s in fast enough. We're still driving cars, we still own guns, and we still have the ability to say no to the shots.
And it's going to dump on top of an area that's already underwater, folks. This is criminal.
And we still have the First Amendment backed up by the Second Amendment and the other ones that are all guaranteed by the First and the Second. All right, so, you know, they're behind schedule, and they're still trying. And God's people need to wake up. And all of us need to become God's people and get right with Jesus Christ and open our eyes. You know, they've managed to turn everybody into a bunch of decadent, self-absorbed, self-centered, myopic, degenerate cowards. That's what the media has done to everybody, and that's what the school systems doubled down on with their curriculum and their moral relativism and their secular humanism and this death education turning out consumerism, folks. And they don't want us to be able to think. They want us just sitting inside a room watching a screen until the ceiling collapses with 20 feet of snow on it, or the floodwaters rise outside and the microwave short circuits with the hot pocket in it.
I don't know what to do to stop it, but I will tell you that we cannot let them get away with this, folks. What they're doing is a criminal act.
They don't want us seeing what's coming, folks. Get ready. Get ready for power failures, power outages, interruptions in the food supply, interruptions in gasoline supplies. And if you're on prescription medications, I feel sorry for you, but you better stock up on them, because I know once you're on the pharmaceutical, petrochemical flypaper with all of your appendages, you can't just get off and walk away from it. A lot of people that are trapped in this web, this matrix of petrochemical poisoning, being pushed by these allopathic white coats, pimping all these Rockefeller medicine drugs. You can't just get off this crap. It'll kill you. So you gotta I mean, they've got you, that you got to wean yourself off that poisonous garbage. And then, you know, you got to make sure it, you know, at the very least, did you notice how they won't give you more than a 30-day supply? There's a reason for that, folks.
And we cannot let them achieve their desired effect, and that is carbon emissions and forcibly relocating millions of people. And I can assure you folks, none of you should go to the camps. None of you should go to a FEMA relocation facility. None of you, okay? That is what this is all about. In addition, getting people off the land, getting people out of the food production system, getting the hands of food production into a select few corporations, multinational, international corporations, not the family farms. They're all going to be bankrupted.
It's very frustrating to see just how zombified everybody is. But they are really messing with the jet stream over Southern California, folks.
And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, you cannot eat crop subsidies and you cannot eat insurance payments for lost crops and livestock. If you think the insurance industry is going to bail this out, you can't eat money, folks.
You know, weather warfare, I mean, look, if you go to the FullertonInformer.com, type in California's geoengineered drought, the Fullerton Informer. I mean, I got the patents on there where they've got patents for weather modification, folks. This, you know, this is not like, you know, some far out, you know, claim that I'm making that, you know, the Easter Bunny is involved in making cheese on the moon. I mean, I'm talking about stuff that has existed for decades. This technology is old technology, folks. I mean, think about this. Aircraft technology, look at it. We're still flying on the same jet aircraft that we had in the 50s. I mean, granted, they've made some improvements in the jet engines, but they're still jet aircraft. All right? So, you know, aircraft has been stagnant for decades, and they're just honing the electromagnetic weaponry on the ground. You know, once they got all the stuff able to spray up in the sky, the only thing left to do is to get the mixture right for the dispersant, and the frequencies honed and the transmitters honed on the ground, folks. You got to get off your TV sets, get off your soap operas, get off your sitcoms, and start making preparation for interruptions, okay? I'm not telling you the world's going to end, because it's not. I'm just telling you that things are going to get weird because they're messing with the weather in a big bad way right now. And there is a possibility that it could trigger an earthquake. Like I said, with the amount of energy they're pumping into these weather modification schemes over the western part of the United States. And I'm getting emails from everybody, and it's up and down the coast. This is a big ridge that they're setting up. There's a lot of chemicals up in the sky. One thing I saw the other day, you know, it's obvious when, you know, they lay the powder out up in the stratosphere, and then they hit it with these weapons. You can see the scalar waves. That's a telltale sign of you know, these weapons hitting this blanket of aerosols. And you can generally see the lines go across. I actually saw them like a tic-tac-toe for the first time in a long time. I actually saw the lines crossed in a total grid, very small, methodic, very scary configuration, folks. One that I have not seen in a very, 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 very long time. The last time I saw something like that was in January of 1983, when we had these massive storms, and I was down at the Seal Beach Pier, and there were literally, you know, the pier was broken to pieces, and parts of the pier were washed up on the beach, and I went down there to check it out. And I remember the day that after the storm had cleared, the sky had these very, very bizarre chemical aerosol formations in them. And that's the first time I had really noticed the tic-tac-toe array up there. Now, I've seen years and years and years of these scalar waves up there, but very infrequently do I see the, I mean, it almost looks like the number sign. You know, the pound sign on your phone? I've seen, recently I've seen some of the aerosols hit with that imprint. That really scares me. That really scares me, because that's telling me that they're getting ready to introduce a new weapon. Just like they did on 9/11, folks. All right. I don't want to be all doom and gloom, folks, because there's a lot of hope. First of all, we're going to win. They're losing. They're losers. They serve a loser. The devil is a loser. And all those that follow the devil are losers. And that's why the devil has to trick everybody into worshiping him. That's why he's got to get people together and make this horrible music and get these degenerate scum to run these record and production companies and these music companies to put out this garbage, you know, like this satanic heavy metal music, you know, and, you know, to all you people that think you're a Christian that still listen to that garbage, you are still blinded by the God of this age if you think that being a born-again Christian is conducive with, you know, Metallica or something. I mean, they're not. They're mutually exclusive. You cannot serve the kingdom of darkness and be part of the kingdom of light. So if you want eyes to see and ears to hear, then stop putting things in front of your eyes and in your ears that are of the devil. Clean it up. I've talked about cleaning it up. It's time to clean it up, folks, because they're about to clean us up. They're about to wipe things clean with their weaponry. If you're anywhere in Palm Springs or in Anza Borrego or anywhere towards the Salton Sea, anywhere along the San Andreas, you need to make some preparations, folks, because all of this energy that's being pumped into creating this weather warfare that's destroying our midsection of our country can have an unintended consequential effect on plate tectonics, all right? Seismic activity is a possibility, as well as a massive disruption in our food supply in the Midwest. Now, I'm not covering the Roundup ban in LA because, to be honest with you, that's not really a huge development. There's a whole bunch of Roundup's been banned in a lot of places, but it's still in all your food, folks. Just because the Los Angeles County stopped using it because of a court case, it's still all over your beans and rice and wheat and oatmeal and everything else. All right? So, you know, don't think that just because the county workers aren't spraying it on the freeway overpass, weeds that are growing through the cracks, that your cream of wheat's safe, because the glyphosates and all this crap. I really, I don't want to minimalize a small victory, folks, but that's what it was. And it's only been forced because of a court ruling, and the attorneys are in a preemptive mode right now. So, but, you know, there's glyphosate in the food supply, and until it's completely banned from the United States, like it is in these other countries, we haven't won anything. You've just got to avoid foods that are dosed in this stuff. And you need to figure out a way to minimize your exposure to this. And if you have Roundup at your house, you need to dispose of it at the Poison Control Center, okay? Don't dump it down the drain. Don't put it in your trash cans. When there's a hazardous waste collection event in your neighborhood, I strongly suggest you get rid of all that stuff. And don't buy it. And please, come on, don't spray this on your property, okay? Please, get rid of it. All right, you folks have any questions of me while I have a chance to interact a little bit here before I shut this thing down? I don't want to go too long. All right, well, Don Carlos, huh? Who's that? The Noahide laws? Well, look them up. That's why they got the guillotines. Why do you think? Look, there's a war against Christians. What do you think? I mean, think about this, folks. The entire U.S. government hates Christians. Look at everything they do. Look at every policy they pass. Look at the tax code. Look at the tax code. It punishes families. All right? Look at the educational system. It destroys children. Look at the FCC. It's a license to kill. I could go on and on. You know, that's the least of our concerns, folks. You know, I'm not gonna minimalize the Noahide laws because, you know, on the surface they seem innocuous, right? But here's the deal: they're not going to work as long as we have a Second Amendment, because no one's going to the guillotine if they're packing. Okay. Now, if they can do away with the Second Amendment, then I would be. Hey, did you know that? Look. Remember Oliver North and Rex 84 and Operation Garden Plot and Iran-Contra? I mean, they've had continuity government, indefinite detention, emergency powers, FEMA laws, and facilities for decades to intern us and incinerate us. They can lock us under the Denver International Airport and put us in some open-air camp in the Alaskan permafrost. But they got to get the guns. Now, they may be able to, because most people now just give me a Hot Pocket and a porno and an Oxy and a bong load, right? And a 12-pack, right? And, you know, I don't care what happens. Just, you know, oh, well, I don't care. Go ahead and arrest my neighbor and haul him away. He's a nutcase anyway, right? I just, leave me alone. Don't bother me. I don't care what happens. Well, here's the thing. You know, with this weather warfare, you know, when they ran Hurricane Katrina and then they ran the gun confiscation, they locked all those people up in the Superdome and shut off the air and let everybody poop all over the walls. You remember that? Remember when the Army was blowing up the levees, and that's why the people of New Orleans were shooting the helicopters? Because the Army was blowing up the levees. Do you remember that? Oh yeah, you don't think the government would ever do anything to hurt its own people? Folks, they've got laws on the books already. They got the Model State Emergency Health Powers Act. They got the Patriot Act. For crying out loud, you can go to Guantanamo for jaywalking the way that thing's written. So yeah, all these laws are in place, folks. But I'll be honest with you, we're doomed unless people got guts and guns. You can have all the faith you want in God, but unless you use your hands and your brains, it's all for naught. Because God did not make us into a dog, folks. He made us with a brain that's a lot bigger than a dog's, and he gave us hands. He didn't give us 4 feet, he gave us 2. And he gave us, instead of 4 feet, he gave us 2 feet and 2 hands. You're supposed to use your hands now. You're supposed to use your hands and your brain to help other people and to protect other people and to love other people. But when they put us into a corner, we got to defend ourselves, ladies and gentlemen, and that's the point here. And I'm just giving you some preemptive, good advice to help you deal with what's going on and what's coming. And I'm reading the tea leaves in the skies over Southern California right now. They're not looking good for the rest of the country. We got a massive amount of moisture heading down, bearing down on the western United States, that's about to get a joyride up and over the Rockies without dumping the moisture that's supposed to. And it's going to end up in the breadbasket and drown what's left of the livestock and flood out what's left of the farmlands, folks. And whatever levees that are already Swiss cheese are going to look like a melted pizza. That's what it's going to look like, folks. We're in big trouble. All I'm saying is prepare and get ready. And by the way, all you in law enforcement out there, all you police that are going to go along with the forced vaccinations and taking people's kids away and taking people's guns, you better look yourselves in the eye in the mirror, because you need to come on over to the right side and stand against these illegal orders that are coming to forcibly relocate people and forcibly vaccinate people and to disarm people. That's right. You swore an oath to the Constitution of the United States when you were given your badge and your service firearms. And I want to tell you, there's a special place in hell for people that swear an oath and they break it, especially when it comes to agendas that threaten human life. This is Joe Imbriano, the Fullerton Informer, P.O. Box 4121, Fullerton, California, 92834. Coming to you live from the streets of Orange County, California, bringing you the news behind the agenda. Bringing you the truth behind the curtain that they don't want you to see. You see the sun, folks? See how beautiful that is? You see sunglasses on my eyes? My shade's not even down, folks. You need to get your eyes in a position to where you can handle the sun so you can get that life-giving light through your eyes, folks. All right, I'm going to sign off. God bless you guys. Get the word out on my channel, my website, and pray for protection and wisdom and discernment. And we'll see you on the flip side tomorrow. God bless. Bringing you the news behind what is obviously in your face, folks. We cannot fall for the scam. God bless all of you.